Welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show, everyone. I am your host, Paul Gebhard, with my co-host here, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, welcome back to the program, my friend.
Hey, Paul. How's it going?
It's good, man. It's good to see you again.
Hey, it's good to be here, always, right?
Yes. We love it. And today we're going to help the good people of Dayton, Ohio area, right?
We are indeed.
Get on the path to a better retirement.
That's
right. So when we do that, let me ask you this question right out of the gate. Tim, how often do you see people thinking short-term in their retirement?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah. And if you think about it, I remember when I turned 50, and I thought, I'm closer to death than I'm past that halfway point, right? I mean, that's what it feels like. I mean,
sure.
And so we start to think about short term, and some of those dates are legitimate. Like we think about, age 65 is, we qualify for Medicare and a lot of times Social Security and a lot of times our pension. We think about 59 and a half, where we can take money out of our retirement accounts without a penalty. We used to think about 70 and a half, now 72 because of that CARES Act last year.
Right.
But the required minimum distribution that the IRS starts making us take money out of the IRA. So there's all of these dates. 72 is kind of the last one. Like, most people don't think past age 72. And if you think about it, when you think about life expectancy, 30 years in retirement is normal for a 65-year-old couple.
Yeah.
If you look at the actuarial studies, they will tell you that a married couple, one of them makes it to 94, which means their IRA money is going to make it to 94. Their investment dollars are going to make it to 94. The money has to last till 94. One of the biggest mistakes we see, Paul, is when people have a DOD. You know what that is?
No.
A date of death plan.
What?
That's right. That's the date that they have to die. If they don't die, they're going to be out of money.
Oh, that's no good.
That's no good. That is not, and we talk to people about that all the time. I literally just had a meeting last week.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, well, just assume that, my wife's going to live to this age and I'm going to make it to that age. And I'm like, just out of curiosity, is there a health thing there that I need to know about?
Right.
And he was like, no, that's just, looking at longevity, that's just what we figured. And I'm like, well, what if you're wrong? Right? I mean, that's having a date of death day. Right? That's a DOD. Like, if my life expectancy, if I think it's 85 and I put my plan together to 85,
what happens at 86?
What happens at 86?
Yeah, no, that's
I miss
a great
out
point.
of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not going back to work at that point.
Right, and let's face it, people are living longer and longer too, Tim. With technology and medical advancements, folks are living longer than ever, right?
Yeah, you can't bet against medicine right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at the life expectancy change that we've seen since Social Security started, Paul.
Good point.
I mean, when Social Security first happened, the average life expectancy was 64. So 64 life expectancy for something you don't get until you're 65.
Right.
The numbers just worked out.
Right.
Nobody was worried about Social Security back then running out of money.
Sure.
Right? I mean, that wasn't a thing.
You're lucky if you got there, is what you're saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, fast forward to today, and I just told you it's now 94. That's a 30-year change in that period of time. Technology is growing so fast.
Wow.
Medicine is getting better so quickly.
Yep.
So when we start talking about longevity, it just makes me feel uncomfortable that because somebody's mom and dad passed away in their 80s, that they assume they're going to pass away in their 80s. There's just been too many things that have happened in medical technology that are keeping people alive longer and alive better.
Yes.
And so, nobody wants to grow old. I don't want to be old and just drooling on myself. That's no fun, right? I'm looking at how can I grow old, still be active, and that's the thing that we're seeing more and more of. People are just they're healthier.
Yeah.
They're exercising more. They're eating better. They're taking care of themselves. The technology is there, and so we've got a plan for that.
I wanted to ask you, with that all being said, let's say there's somebody out there watching today, Tim, and they have an advisor that's been with them for a while. And, the markets, the gains have been good, right? The last 10 years have been great to people. Let's face it, we've all probably gotten a little bit complacent. How important is it for someone out there to maybe consider getting a second opinion just to make sure their plan is where they think it should be? right? How important is that to somebody?
I think it's essential. And you know, is that self-serving? I guess in the fact that I want to give people a second opinion. But if you look at the people that come into our office every week and the difference that we see in their plan of how it is versus how it should be, and that's not our opinion, they're identifying that as well as, you know, well, think about it this way, Paul.
Yeah.
95% of advisors out there are accumulation specialists. They are there to help people grow their money from point A to point B.
Yep.
They're not in the distribution business.
No, that's right.
They're just not. In fact, I would make the argument that big box firms aren't in the distribution business at all.
Right.
They don't want to give anybody their money back, right? I mean, they get paid to manage it. They want to manage it, and they want to manage it for generations. I always get a kick when the firms talk about, you know, let us manage your money and the money for your future generations. That's exactly what they want to do. They don't want anybody to ever take their money out. They want to just keep growing it and growing it and growing it.
Whatever you do, don't spend it, right?
Yeah, we're not giving it back.
Yeah, right.
But the fact is that, you know, when you get to 65 or whatever your retirement age is, you transition from accumulation to distribution.
Yes.
And you can't be working off of the old plan. You can't be working off of, we've saved a bunch, we're going to start taking it out systematically and hope it all works out. And that's a lot of people's plans.
Yeah.
Not intentional. That's not what they mean to do. It's just by default what's happening.
Well, we're talking about habitual things, right? So you've been in the habit of accumulating for 20, 30, 40 years. There's someone who may have specialized in that, and that was great. But
and did a good job, most likely.
And did a fine job. But let's think about this. You know, why don't you have the same pediatrician you did when you were a kid? Right? It's time to transition to someone who specializes.
Your needs change.
Where you are. That's exactly right. And so I'm so glad you shared that with folks. Today, I understand you have a special offer for the viewers. Would you share that with the people out there?
I can, Paul, because it's the same offer every week.
I love it. Yes.
For those of you watching today, our offer is this. Pick up the phone, give us a call. Let us show you the difference between what we do and maybe what you're doing to this point. It doesn't cost anything, and it is worthwhile for your time to find out, are you truly on the path to retirement? Is it going to work out? Or is there a problem potentially down the road that you don't even know about? Give us a ring, sit down with us, let us have that discussion with you. Come in and meet us. I think you'll be happy that you did.
Yeah, that's good stuff. You know, maybe you're asking the question out there, why, Paul? Look, I'm not a fancy guy, but the reality is we have questions. You and I have questions about our retirement. These are things we ask ourselves daily. There's some of the things that wake us up in the middle of the night, you know, when we jot down that note real quick to ask somebody about. But this is an opportunity right now for you to do that, to be proactive in your future, to have the retirement you want. Tim and his team is offering a complimentary review, okay? It's an investment in you and your future. Invest the phone call, 855-684-3485. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, and my co-host today, Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, what an incredible segment on talking about longevity in life and how things change. And I couldn't help think in the break, as we progress in life, here's another interesting part about science that we all know. With computers, with the age of technology, medical advancements are happening rapidly. Where we will be 10 years from now with medical discoveries. How much longer will we live then?
Right.
And we're talking about 30 years in retirement. But what if we even get behind that? We go into our hundreds, right? We've got to have a plan that stands up to that. So let me ask you, what are some of the big risks to that happening? What should folks be planning for and be aware of that they may not know?
Paul, I think the first thing is perspective of understanding what 30 years really feels like. Because a lot of times, I think when we get into our 60s and 70s and we start thinking 25, 30 years, it doesn't compute.
Sure.
Like it just, we say, yeah, it could happen, but, I don't think a lot of times people think it will. Let me give you some perspective. If you're 65 years old, 30 years ago, you were 35 years of age. Think about that perspective. At 35 years of age, when you thought about the perspectives of 30 years into the future, that's a different way of thinking about it, because at 35, you definitely thought you'd make it to 65.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So I need people to kind of wrap their head around that, because exactly what you said. We talk about technology all the time, and we've been talking technology on this show for a long time. That, the companies that are going to do things 5 years from now don't even exist yet. And they're using a technology that hasn't even been invented yet. And that's 5 years from now.
Exactly right.
That's how fast things are moving today.
That's true.
And so betting on that you're going to make it to a certain day in the future and then die is a dangerous bet. It's a dangerous bet. And when we talk about life expectancy, we have to come to terms with, we could definitely be around till age 100. I mean, that's just a legitimate thought process.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if that's the case, we need to understand all of the things that can go wrong with that amount of time. So if we think about inflation, for example, and how that takes a bite out of our ability to purchase things as time goes on, right? It's the old analogy of, who in the room paid more for their last car than they did their first house, and everybody's hand goes up. People understand inflation. Understand inflation in retirement, still there, right? That's a thing.
Yes.
And so as we think through the growth of what we have from an investment standpoint, we have to make sure that that plan includes growth, not just income. And a lot of times, I think that gets missed. We need to think about, things like long-term care. A lot of times when we think about the cost of long-term care, we think about it in today's dollars.
Yes.
Well, if I'm 65, today's dollar cost for long-term care is irrelevant.
Right. That's a good point.
Right?
Yep.
Because I'm not going to use it at 65. I'm going to use it at 95.
Right. Later, for sure.
And so what are those costs in the future? And then I'm trying to plan for something that is all over the board as far as cost goes.
Right.
Right.
What will be the cost then?
Exactly.
Look at the inflation rates today.
Exactly.
If nothing else, look at that and then try to forecast 20, 30 years from now. Right? I think to Tim's point, folks, I want you to just think about this. You're about to go into the holiday season again. Think of it that way. And how many times you talk with your friends and family members? Wow, I can't believe another year has gone by. Right? Here we go. It's time to plan for Christmas. Take out 30 Christmas cards, put them on the table. 30 Christmas cards. Watch how fast you start to peel one off after the other. We can't afford to procrastinate because life is moving quickly. We got to take action. We got to make a plan now, right? Make sure that next Christmas and then that next Christmas is exactly the one you want it to be. Right, Tim?
That's exactly right.
Hey, listen, tell me a little bit more about on the long-term care, because I know that's like the number 2 question I get from a lot of viewers, is that's the next big thing. They're worried about taking a major hit to their nest egg from a catastrophic healthcare issue.
Of course.
Right? And the cost of long-term care is astronomical. right? But there are things that people can do to plan ahead for that, right?
There is, and it is, of all the planning, I think one of the most complicated because the difference in cost is so dramatic from the minimum level of care to the maximum level of care. And what I mean by that is you could go into an assisted living scenario where you're not actually getting assistance. You're kind of living on your own, right?
You're right.
They have cottages, they have single family homes, they have condos, they have apartments, all of which basically it's independent living.
Yeah.
And it could be $3,500 a month to $5,000 a month. Then you step up to that next level of care, which is typically going to be in the terms of skilled nursing care. And depending on that, that has a sliding scale as well, anywhere from $7,500 all the way up to $10,000. But that's not where it tops out. When you look at memory care, that's really the top end of cost when it comes to a nursing home. And that can be $14,000, $15,000 a month. So literally you're talking about $5,000 a month to $15,000 a month. And how do people plan for that? Like, you don't get to choose what the thing is going to put you in there, right? And so how do you do that? And that's where I think that when people sit down with us and we're walking through the different planning concerns, we're able to offer up, because there's a lot of different solutions. There's not just one solution.
I like that.
And so being able to sit down at the table and talk to people one-on-one to hear their story,
Yes.
to understand what their concerns are, to understand their family dynamic, how much money do they have, what are some of the different options, and be able to present those options to them in a way that they can understand and then be able to take action. That's amazing, Paul.
Yeah.
It really is.
I agree with you. You know, it's funny, I had somebody tell me, Paul, there's no perfect plan. It's one of those areas I want to disagree. Yeah, there is. There's a perfect plan. That perfect plan is the one that starts with someone listening to you. That's the perfect plan. Because you constantly have to have someone that will listen, because your life is always changing, right, Tim?
Always.
And the plan today, 6 months from now, a year from now, may be very different. Who's listening to you, right?
And Paul, that's what we tell our clients. Putting that initial plan together is not an event, right? That gets them to the starting line, so that then we can do life with them.
Right.
Because that's what it's all about. Having a plan that we can shift from, pivot from, make changes to, add, subtract. You've got to have that starting point to be able to go forward. Once you get that, then we just do life together. But it starts with a plan.
I love it. That's good stuff. So again, we're going to take a short break here in a second, but would you remind everybody out there what you're offering them when they call in today?
Sure. So for the folks at home, 3 things that we're going to do for you when you come into our office. The first one is we're going to do that retirement blueprint. It's going to show you an income plan, a path forward of exactly what your retirement can look like going from today all the way through the rest of your life with you, your spouse, and your family. Second thing is we're going to figure out how much risk are you actually taking. We're going to use that Riskalyze report that takes a look at the risk and gives you an opportunity to see exactly how you would have done in good times and bad, so to make sure that you're making the right decision. And then lastly, we're going to do what we call our 3 bucket. And that 3 bucket shows exactly what jobs your money should have, how it would work for you, and how you can decide and help understand what areas of your life you're going to use each of those pockets of money. All of that is complimentary, Paul.
That's good stuff. All they have to do is call, right, Tim?
All they have to do is call.
So call the number on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, 855-684-3485. Get your complimentary review. That review that includes the blueprint to your financial future. The blueprint, that thing that you refer to make sure you get through the good times and the bad times. Because it's not about surviving retirement. It's about enjoying it, thriving in it. Right, Tim?
That's exactly right.
Listen, we're going to come back. We got some really powerful information for you, but we got to take a short break. We'll be right back after these short messages.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Retirement is about choosing where you want to go and mapping out a plan to get there. That's why I created the Retirement Blueprint. Of course, things don't always go according to plan. Come learn how our team can help you avoid potential hazards and find alternate routes. We're here to do life with you and share your journey. Let us blueprint your life to keep you on track to make sure you get the most out of retirement. Are you on the road to success? Call us today for a complimentary review to find out. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my co-host, Tim Lofton. Tim, again, thank you for being with us, and thank you for being with us. We're not successful without you. And that's what this is about, seeing people through success, right?
It is.
Success in retirement.
It is.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time, Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about all the things that you wait to do, that you hope to experience, creating memories with grandkids and bringing your family together. It's a real opportunity to create new annual events. We've seen so much success around those, bringing everybody together, renting a beach house in North Carolina, and bringing the kids and the grandkids and everybody. And that's the kind of thing that's going to last long after you're gone, right?
You're right.
And so the kids are going to continue to do that with their kids and their grandkids.
That's
and
right.
so that's just one of the many things that come out of our planning sessions is planning some of the fun stuff.
Tim, I love that. I love that because you're right. It's not about the pile of money. It truly isn't. It's about what you do with it and the freedom that allows you and the love you get to share.
And the memories that you make.
The memories, man, the legacy. That's what we're talking about here. And those things will carry on, right? So I wanted to touch on a topic, RMDs. First of all, what's an RMD and what's changing about RMDs that folks need to be paying attention to?
Sure. So RMD stands for Required Minimum Distribution.
Okay.
And that's the IRS's way of saying we want taxes on the money that you've been deferring for all of these years. And so IRAs, 401ks, all that good news that said, hey, let's put as much money in there as we can. We're going to defer those taxes to another day. The IRS determined that that day has an actual date. Used to be 70 and a half. In 2020, the CARES Act changed that to 72. There's some other things that they took away, but that did give us a little bit more of a delay, so a little bit extra planning that we could do. But at the end of the day, they decide how much comes out. And there's a formula. Roughly at 72, it's about 3.9% of your December 31st value, give or take. But the problem that a lot of times people forget is that number is going to go up. So if your account's growing and that percentage that the IRS is going to make you take out is growing, you could end up with a pretty significant tax situation years down the road. Now, it doesn't happen at 72 or 73, but at 82 and 83 or 90, 93, you could see a pretty significant problem. And that's a problem that can be fixed if you have a plan and we take a look at it and catch it early.
Good stuff, good stuff. How about understanding the growth versus lack of growth when you do like the draw rate and risk? What about that?
Well, when you're looking at, again, 30 years, if I'm looking at how much can I take out on a monthly basis to live on, and then factoring in inflation, all of a sudden the growth on those dollars becomes pretty important if I'm looking at a 30-year time horizon, right? And so that can help dictate how much risk I have to take to actually achieve my goals of growth. It also can help influence how much I actually take out and spend. In other words, that withdrawal rate can become a very important number to make sure you have dialed in. In fact, that's one of the main things we focus on with that retirement blueprint is getting the income plan right, making sure that the withdrawal can be supported by what people have saved.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Explain to me, if you would, this, because I hear this, and every time I see this phrase, I kind of chuckle and smile a little bit. Monte Carlo simulation. Because when I see that phrase, I don't know about you at home, but I'm thinking it's like a race car driving video game or something. A Monte Carlo simulation.
Right. I think of James Bond, right? I mean, Monte Carlo, like, you know, like I see James Bond pulling up in his Aston Martin and, you know, throwing the keys to the valet.
That's awesome.
I've always thought that this was funny, that in the investment world that we have a thing for planning called Monte Carlo. Like, I mean, that just, like, that would, if I was my client, I would not feel comfortable at all basing my retirement off something called Monte Carlo.
Right. I get you.
But it's a thing, and it's a software. It's not bad. It's a very useful piece of software. It gives us basically a snapshot that says, if you did this, in other words, if you save this amount of money and you got this return and we had this inflation rate, and basically you have to plug in all of the variables, it'll give you a % chance that is going to happen.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Okay.
So it's a legitimate calculation if all those things work out, if those numbers are correct, and if those things happen.
Wow, so it's kind of a forecasting tool.
It's a probability of success based on the numbers that you put in. The problem is if you put in the wrong numbers, or if those things don't happen, then that scenario doesn't work out. And the Monte Carlo simulation is built off of like a million different scenarios.
Okay.
And so it has, you know, a gap of like this, and then there's a line in the middle that says, hey, this is the most likely to happen based on these million different scenarios. But as I like to point out to people, if my line's here, all of these mean that it could be better than that, and all of these mean that it could be worse. And so to bank my entire, or to bet on Monte Carlo, to bet on that working out can be a fairly dangerous thing to do if that's all I'm basing my retirement on.
There's no doubt about it. Well, we come down to the end of a show, my friend. Would you remind the viewers out there when they call in what you're offering them today?
Yes. For those of you that will pick up the phone and call us today, we're going to send you home with a retirement blueprint that's going to include that income plan for you. And we're also going to make sure and include that risk-wise report that'll tell you how much risk you're currently taking with what you own.
And again, it's a complimentary review. Pick up the phone. Give Tim and his team a call. 855-684-3485. I have one question for you. What does your tomorrow look like? Find out today. Thank you for being with us. Be well and enjoy your retirement.